Hi, I'm Jeff Joyner. The number one topic that I get asked to speak and train about in the last couple of years is how can people have less stress? People are overwhelmed with stress, workplace stress, relationship stress. I'm filming this right now in the summer of 2020, and everyone is dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, and people are feeling record levels of stress. They're losing sleep, it's hurting their relationships, it's affecting their health. The good news is there are some strategies that I found that are guaranteed to help anyone have less stress in their life. And I'm going to share 5 of those strategies with you in this video, including one that you can do right now that'll lower your stress. The number one strategy on learning to have less stress is that you have to decide to become better at handling change. Everyone thinks they're good at handling change. Most people are not good at handling change. But to the degree that you can handle change quickly and effectively is going to have a huge impact on your ability to manage your stress. A lot of people don't like change. I was talking about this at a conference in Nebraska, and a woman shouted out from the back. She goes, "I hate change." And I said, "Lady, you hate change?" She's like, "Yep." I didn't really know what to say. I told her, I said, "I think that might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard someone say. You've made change your enemy." I said, "Let me try to think of something dumber than I hate change." I know. If somebody said, "I hate breathing. I've had enough. I had it up to here with oxygen. Breathe in, breathe out. I ain't doing it no more. I'm taking one last breath." If you saw someone talking like that, you'd see to it they got some professional help, right? Because it's crazy. But almost as dumb as saying I hate breathing is saying I hate change. It's the one thing you're going to have to deal with every day of your life. Change is happening. Change is accelerating. Think of the change just in our lifetime. You know, my daughter Natalie, when she was about 11 years old, she said, "Dad, I have a question." I said, "What's that?" She said, "What's a phone book?" I said, "Are you serious? You don't know what a phone book is?" She goes, "No." I said, "What do you think it is?" She goes, "Is it a catalog of all the cell phones you can get?" No. So I went and found one in the basement, like an old white pages, and she's looking through it, and she goes, "Dad, is this all the phone numbers in the world?" I said, "No, these are just the phone numbers in Butler County, Ohio." Actually, it's not even all those phone numbers, right? Because cell phones aren't in the phone book. These are just the landlines. And then I felt really old when she said, "What's a landline?" So now I'm trying to explain to this child how we used to keep the phones on a cord connected to the wall, right? And there was no such thing as caller ID and call waiting. And in fact, when I was a kid, when I was really little, anybody remember party lines? Like someone else was on your family's phone, like from another house, right? And then everybody got their own phone, but it was a rotary dial. And just all of these changes. Now, anyone can call anyone from anywhere to anywhere just in our lifetime, right? Look at the change. It's unbelievable the amount of change. Here's my favorite photographic depiction of change. This is a picture that was taken in 2005 in Vatican City in Rome. The Pope had passed away. And so the College of Cardinals got together and they had an election to identify the new Pope. And they do the smoke out of the chimney and everybody crowds in there to watch. This picture was taken in 2005. 8 years later, in 2013, the Pope passed away. That's part of the problem. They keep picking old popes. But the Pope passed away. They did the whole process over again. So in 2013, a picture was taken from the same angle. What do you think was different? Every single person is holding a smartphone or a tablet. Everyone is recording in high definition, high color video. Now, if you look in the first picture, you can see one little Motorola flip phone. And yet just a few years later, everyone is carrying with them all the time a video recorder. How much has that changed the world, right? So changes like this are coming like crazy. And handling change is a decision, right? If you were to say, okay, I'm going to work on handling change better. What if you decided to be the one person in your family who was best at handling change? The one person where you work who handled change quicker and with more ease than anyone else. The degree to which you're willing to handle change and stop complaining about change, stop talking about how much you hate change. That's causing you stress. You're piling stress on yourself when you do that. So that's number one. Decide to become good at handling change. The number two strategy I recommend if you want to have less stress is you have to learn how to focus on the things that you control. There's a lot of things going on in your life. Some of them you have control over, most of them you don't. I'll show you a pictograph here. This comes from Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This book changed my life, and there's a chapter in that book that talks about what do you focus your attention on. I think you'd agree that we all have a finite amount of attention, and you only have so much time, so much energy every day. And the question is, what do you focus on? The outside blue circle is what's called your circle of concern. That's everything that affects your life. The smaller circle, the subset, is the circle of influence. Those are the things that you control. Well, that's a shorter list, isn't it? And so if you had a marker and were writing in the blue area, what are some of the things that affect your life, but things that you can't control? I'll give you some examples. Things like the weather, things like the cost of gas, the price of food, other people's opinions, other people's actions. I was doing a seminar like this once, and a woman shouted, I said, what's something that affects you that you can't control? And she goes, your adult children and their decisions. It's like, oh, hey lady, I think we all got a glimpse into your life right there. You know what? You're right. You're right. You can't control your adult children and their decisions. But why don't we broaden that to the fact that you can't control anyone? You cannot control other people. You can't change other people. Right? What other people do falls in the circle of things that you can't control. Right? What's happening in politics? What's happening at your job? Decisions made by your employer. Those are all things that you can't control. Right? What goes in the green category? Things that you can control. Really only two things. You're in control of number one, your attitude. You decide what kind of attitude that you're going to have every minute of every day. People fight me on this one. They're like, no, I don't have a bad attitude. I just got up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. I'm like, shut up. You got up on the same side of the bed you always do. But something happened today that you don't like, little princess, and now you're going to be a jerk all day, right? That's a choice. You are choosing to react to people because you've made that decision. Now, maybe you made that decision day after day after day after day your whole life, and now it's a habit, but it's still a choice. It's still a decision that you make. So number one, you control your attitude. Number two, you control your actions. You control what you say. You control what you don't say. You control how you respond to people. Essentially, you control you, period. Now here's what Stephen Covey believed, and I agree. Most people spend a vast majority of their time and their energy and their worry and their concern and their gossip focused in the blue area of things they can't control. And it's exhausting, and it wears you out, and it serves no purpose, and it accomplishes nothing. And here's what starts to happen. When you focus all your time and energy on the things that you can't control, the things you can control start to shrink. And now you have less and less control over your life. Now you're sleeping less, and so you're worn out. You're feeling more stressed. You're on edge. You're damaging relationships. You ever feel like your life is just spiraling out of control? You're like, oh my gosh, grandma's sick again. The cat's got diarrhea. My boss is on my back. The car needs new brakes. It's all falling apart at once. I bet you felt like that. I have too. When you feel like that, 100% of the time, what causes that is too much focus and energy on things that you can't control. Now here's some good news. This process can be reversed. Here's what effective people do. Here's what people with low stress do. All the stuff in the blue area, you don't ignore it. You handle what needs to be handled, but you don't give it any more life and power than you have to. You focus on what you can control. When you start feeling stressed, what can I control? I can't control a lot of these things. I'll tell you an area that used to really, really stress me out, and I let it stress me out, was politics. I'd see all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this country's good. You know what I realized? I can't control that. I can't control who's in the White House. I can't control, right? You get one little vote, boop, Once every 4 years. It's one of the things in the whole world you have the least control over. But you know what I can control? If I want the world to be a better place, if I want this country to move in a direction that I think is important, here's what I can control. I can be a mentor. I can try to be a better leader, a better husband, a better father, a better friend. That's how I can make the world a better place. It's so much more something I have control over than who the governor is. So when you focus on things that you can control, your influence starts to expand. Now you have more peace. Now you have more confidence. Now people see that you have your act together and they start coming to you for advice. Right? I think it's a litmus test for the degree to which you have your life together is how often do people ask for your advice? If nobody ever asks you for your advice, you know what that means? Your friends think you're a hot mess, right? And so focus on what you can control. It's a great second strategy on how to have less stress. Number 3 strategy for having less stress. Lighten up. Would you lighten up? Would you just chill out a little bit? Right? The people who have trouble handling change, the people who have a lot of stress, they have trouble handling change and everything else too. And here's my challenge to you. Just lighten up. Laugh a little bit. Quit taking everything so seriously. Quit being offended all the time. What's with this epidemic of offendedness that's taken over our country where everyone, well, I'm offended what you said. Well, I'm offended what you said. Well, you're gender offended and I'm race offended, and race trumps gender like a flush beats a straight in poker, and it's like a contest. Who can be the most offended? Well, let me tell you the truth. You didn't know you'd get the truth watching YouTube today. Here's the truth. Nobody cares that you're offended. Nobody cares. And you think people respect you when you go around announcing how offended you are? The reality is your friends are like, oh, here it goes again. Right? Because here's what it really says when you go around announcing to the world how offended you are all the time. Right? It'd be like saying, hey, everybody, can I have your attention? Because I'm such a weak person and I can't control my emotions. Everyone needs to watch what you say when I'm around, okay? Because I'm a fragile egg and I'm going to crack. And you think your friends respect that? They don't. Here's my advice to you. Just lighten up. Do people say things that are offensive sometimes? Yeah, I guess. Here's my rule of thumb. If that's happening to you more than twice a year, lighten up, buttercup. All right? You decide the things that are going to get you all worked up. It's called taking offense. It's called that for a reason, because you take it. You choose to be offended. No one has the power to make you offended. One of my good friends told me once, he said, hey, Jeff, I've known you for 20 years and I've never seen anyone get your goat. And I said, well, hey, thanks. That's a great compliment. I said, do you know why? It's because I don't go around telling everybody where I keep my goat. Right? There's some things that I'm sensitive about, some things that I'm not proud of, but I ain't telling you, and I sure ain't telling my enemies at work who are going to write it down and like, oh, really? They're going to push that button and irritate you to no end. And so, man, just lighten up. Number 4 advice on how you can have less stress in your life. Watch less news. Part of what's causing you stress is what you see on the news, what you read on your phone, what you watch when it comes to news coverage. It is stressing you out. It is killing you. Let me give you a little truth about the news that you may know and you may not know. But there's lots of news sources, but they all have one thing in common, which is the business model, right? You may or may not know how news channels make money. They make money when people watch. They want you watching for as long as you can, as often as you can. They sell advertising and they can charge more for advertising the more people are watching and the more often that they are watching. Well, there's lots of demographic analysis, but what they've discovered is there's one demographic group that watches the news more frequently and for a longer period of time than any other group. You know who it is? Frightened people. People who are frightened watch the news. I bet you in this COVID era that we're living in, you've watched a little more news than you used to. You're probably watching governor press conferences where that's something you've never watched before in your life, right? You're watching the news. You're trying to stay up to date. You have the best of intentions to stay tuned in, but these news channels are trying to frighten you. That's how they get paid. That's literally their business model. Now, they do it in different ways, right? CNN wants you to be afraid of Donald Trump. Fox News wants you to be afraid of Nancy Pelosi. You know what they have in common? They all want you to be afraid. That's how they make money. And so my challenge to you, if you're feeling stressed, turn it off. Step away. If anything's that important on there, your friends are going to tell you about it. Right? And I could go on and on and on and on too. Maybe staying off of Facebook is some of you need to do. Right? Maybe that's what's causing you stress. I don't know. But if you're putting input into your mind that's stressing you out and you want to have less stress, stop it. Just stop it. The fifth strategy for having less stress, and this is something you can do right now. And it's going to sound a little weird, but it's something I discovered years ago. If I'm ever feeling stressed, if I have some nerves before a big conference or before a big meeting, this is what I do, and I know it's going to sound silly. Yawn. Amazing things happen to your body when you yawn. First, your heart rate slows down. It cools your brain. They've done studies that found that the oxygen coming in to your bloodstream cools down your brain and allows you to think more clearly. Yawning cleans your brain. They've discovered that when you yawn, cerebral spinal fluid flows into your brain and it cleans out your brain. It releases things like melatonin and endorphins into your bloodstream that help you stay focused and energetic. Yawning releases serotonin into your blood, which helps facilitate things like cognition and memory and regulate appetite. Yawning is one of the healthiest things you can do. That's why your body does it sometimes. It's your body's way of saying, hey, chill out, calm down. And so anytime you're feeling stressed, doing a little yawn is going to help you feel a little less stress instantly. So there's 5 strategies that I'm hoping can help you have less stress in your life. Try it. See if they work for you. Leave a comment down below if you try some of these strategies and you get some results, or if you found some other ways to have less stress in your life. Look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.